All
Should
right.
I sit here?
Yeah,
All
we can get cozy. So I feel like Jacques set us up really nicely for our UAC conversation. Hope everyone was taking notes. Thank you all so much for coming. We are super excited to have Lee Jones, Global App Ads Director from Google again, which he was here last year, actually at around the time that UAC launched.
That's right.
So it's been about a year, and I want to know just a little bit to kick it off. How many of y'all now use UAC? Can I get a show of hands? All right, so pretty pertinent topic. I know last year, many of you hadn't transitioned over yet. So just to kind of get our bearings straight, what would you say are some of the big things that have happened with UAC in the past year?
Yeah, sure. First of all, our product team is hiring, Jacques. I thought some of your designs were pretty cool, so we should talk. What's happened in the last year? Actually, if I could back up a little bit before that, universal app campaigns, we run one campaign across all of Google, search, YouTube, display network, ads in the Play Store on Android, not on iOS, obviously. People used to come to us and say, why do I have to run 8 campaigns? It used to be 4 on Android, 3 on iOS. And so the design for UAC was to really pivot how you execute campaigns to like your customer goals, cost per install, cost per action, ROAS. So in the last year, we made that shift. Hopefully folks are seeing good value. We're not perfect, I don't think anyone is. So the pendulum swung from running 8 campaigns with us to maybe 2 or 3, all right, depending on the platform. And so where we are in the last year, I've been pleasantly surprised with the results we're seeing from customers. And on the product side, like our job has really been focused on delivering even more reach. So we've put more placements on YouTube, more ads in the Play Store, with the goal of driving more value for you. Increasing relevance, so like really refining those cost per action models. We have a beta now for target ROAS, evolving our bidding strategy. And so that's really where our focus has been. And then on the other side, trying to design front-end features that map and help you understand like how some of our machine learning is working. Because admittedly, it's a little sparse right now, but it's a very hard technical problem to solve. So a lot of our effort and focus has been on how do we surface the right insights to help you make informed decisions about your campaign or about the content in your app.
Yeah, and I feel like, I know for some of you, especially I used to be in account management, setting up those Google campaigns was always a pretty fun endeavor, so we know at least that part has been fixed. But I feel like something that's really cool is Google and Adjust have definitely started much more, I would say, of a partnership, especially when it comes to the mobile app ecosystem itself, right? Everyone here is dealing with fraud in some way, shape, or form. And it was never really a conversation before that, attribution partners were able to have with some of the big companies like Google. So just to go into a bit, I don't know how many of y'all have heard of click injection, but within this past year, we actually partnered with Google Play Store so that we now have this new filter to basically filter out any of those users that were basically injecting clicks, right? So we now have 2 new timestamps, the install start and the install end. So we know any of those clicks that were sent during that time when the user was actually downloading the app. So something else on our radar is viewability, right? So something Adjust is looking to do is to find an impression for every click that we have, right? That's a big initiative that we want to push towards. And at the same time, I know Google is working heavily on viewability as well.
Yeah.
So maybe touch upon that.
Sure. We're very aligned on like cleaning up the ecosystem. I think Google sees its role both on Android, but also across our network and other platforms of like really cleaning up fraud, providing more transparency to customers. The click injection one is rampant, right? It's unbelievable. Billions of dollars were being spent through questionable apps, a lot of them coming from certain parts of the world. But it was very hard to understand what was real versus what was actually fake. And so this partnership is key. It's directly pinging installs from the Play Store, right, which is important. On the viewability side, this is where fraud, to me, is really sort of an ambiguous term, because if you're not telling somebody whether or not an ad was seen or not, like, but you're just posting back or claiming an install, like, is that fraud? Maybe it was under the fold. Maybe it was somebody who scrolled through really fast. And so we're trying to set standards around what is a view. In this idea of partnering with MRC for credibility, partnering with Adjust to make sure that an ad is seen on the screen for at least 1 second, or if it's a video, more than 2 seconds. I think there's, arguably, it's not fraud, but there's so much lack of transparency that you as marketers get when you work with certain people and they just claim everything as an install or everything as an action. You should chip away and really have tools to help you understand, was that actually something that happened, or are they being a little greedy?
Yeah, and I think one of the other kind of big things that we've seen within the ecosystem as well is, okay, well, once we can actually define some of this traffic as quality, right? How does UAC kind of play a part in that realm? Because I would beg to say that the majority of our clients look at UAC as very much a user acquisition tool, right? It has a huge opportunity to find these new users. But at the end of the day, if they're quality users, you also want to keep them, right? So regarding retention, churn, right, I think it's 90% of users in mobile are within an app, or 90% of the time, but 95% of all users churn within the first few months, right? So that's not really getting you super far in terms of your LTV. So what's Google doing there?
Yeah, I mean, this was the real impetus for why we originally launched cost per action bidding, right? Which is that a lot of our customers said, just a cost per install is cost prohibitive. We really care about this action or this ROI or this ROAS goal, but we're having a hard time backing into it. So why don't we just get to the chase, optimize for the end goal that we want? I think what's different, or maybe to your question, what I think is powerful about Google is that we have this whole funnel, right? You have people searching on google.com, you have the Play Store, which is very bottom funnel, and then you have YouTube, where people are actually, inspired to discover new apps. And I think the combination of that all in one campaign allows you to find those diamonds in the rough. If you care about volume, it's installs. But if you care about actions, like the signals, the intent that we have from all of those different platforms is very powerful. And so, I'll give one example. We're working with General Motors, their Maven ride sharing app. They came to us and they said, on TV we're buying demographics, but ultimately we're having a hard time driving installs that convert to a registered user. We switched to their actions campaign and they saw a 340% increase in their registration. So this can be very powerful. It's very hard to go out and try to find all that stuff on your own or just by guessing with demographics. And we're never always perfect, but yeah. I think it's pretty powerful. And definitely the direction that things are going. And we've launched universal shopping campaigns at Google, and there are a handful more other ideas coming.
Cool. So I think definitely getting into that, because I do want to leave room for questions, maybe just some final tips and tricks, because I think Jacques said you can change it within a week. I'm not sure if you would agree with that, Lee. But anything to kind of leave people with regarding their campaigns, do's and don'ts.
Budget adjustments on a weekly basis. I can't endorse that. It's technically not our best practice. Use at your own risk. I think just what I've been surprised with, the shift to universal app campaigns was a big one for a lot of our customers. And we recognize that. And what I'm realizing now is that it really changed best practices too. And there's still so many people, there's so much opportunity to take advantage of UAC in ways that people aren't recognizing. So we're spending a lot of time with our marketing team. We launched a course called, it's on our Google education site, for how to really nail a universal app campaign, everything from creative best practices to picking in-app events. When we launched it, we saw 20,000 people take it over the weekend. We're now up to 50,000. So it's free, right? It's good. It's actually engaging content too. Yeah. I've taken it. But to be more specific, one of the bigger trends that I've seen in the last year is that so much of our installs, so much of where consumers are engaging is now video. And so few people have full video coverage. And so, arguably UAC is the largest video network in the world for apps between YouTube and AdMob video. So if you don't have a portrait video or a landscape video, ideally both in your UAC campaign, you're potentially missing out on on iOS, it's almost half of our inventory, which is crazy. So things like that are what we're really trying to codify for people now. Yeah. The other piece is I've seen a lot of customers do really smart things on testing different in-app actions and pricing them differently. I would love to get to a place where we provide even more tools to help you do this, or working with Adjust to do it. But the idea that you just set an action and your campaign either hits that target or it doesn't, seeing people experiment with lower funnel events, pricing them, and testing multiple different actions and values is where I think some of our savvier customers are really pushing the limit. We had a customer in China, Elix Tech, which is a game, very big game. They worked with one of our account teams using TensorFlow, which is open source, to try to predict what events would lead to an in-app purchase. And they saw a 7x increase in ROI when they actually started looking at more shallow funnel events in their own game, which was kind of cool. So things like that.
All right, cool. Well, I think with that, we will save the rest of our time for questions. So does anybody have any questions for us? All right, we've got some people up here in the front. Just wiggle a mic over there. Perfect.
Hi there. We recently just launched our UAC campaigns. We got a lot of volume, but we noticed that a lot of the volume was coming from brand terms, particularly on the Google Play Store. How do we suppress or otherwise segment that traffic out? Because we would assumably otherwise get it as organic traffic.
I believe we're removing brand terms from Play. Send me an email.
All right, you got it.
Yeah, we have this problem though. I don't know what your app is, but like some of our customers, like, I don't know, Wish, great company. Is Wish a brand term, or I don't know. So it depends on, like, we have to negotiate with the Play Store a little bit too on policy-wise what's even considered a brand term. So if your app is like best app ever, I'm sorry, I don't think I can help you.
Let's hope that's not the name of your app.
Yeah, okay. That would be a good search in the Play Store. I don't know what comes up.
I just wanted to say first, thanks for integrating with Adjust, because once that happened, that was a lot easier to run all my campaigns and the conversion events. Secondly, will there be any sort of like split testing? Because I feel like just having these one set it and forget it long-term campaigns, like how do I feel comfortable with that as a marketer? So will there be any sort of split testing or funnel testing down the way?
What would you want to test? A combination of bids, actions, creative, or one in particular?
Yeah, more like creative, because when I look and see how the creatives are performing, like, to be honest, for mine is primarily all the text. That's what I'm seeing all the conversions coming from, versus video and display stuff. Yeah,
it's something on our radar. We want to give you more insights into not only which creatives are good, but really why. The challenging part of UAC is that it's asset-based, so your text could be matched with an image or a video, and so we play with all your assets, right? Which means that it isn't always a simple answer on one versus the other. It could be a combination of one versus, three. But it is something that I've heard a lot, and we're trying to figure out how to best design it. So it's on the radar. I don't know if that's a good enough answer for you, but you're not the only person.
Hi, I'm going to push a little harder on the creative question.
Great.
I'll just be really honest. We're
Yeah.
putting most of our creative testing budget into Facebook because we have no insight into what exact messaging is performing, right?
Yep.
And I desperately want to know on Google. So what are you guys going to do it, and when?
Yeah. Well, I think Facebook, great product, by the way. I'm a shareholder. There's a reason, though, why they are emphasizing so much the creative testing, right? Because they have fatigue in the news feed, and they need to constantly energize.
Fresh.
Right? It's sort of like, I like to compare UAC to a fine wine, where that's sometimes more like taking a shot, if you will. But don't quote me on that. I think I also have seen examples of where Facebook or creative that you've tested on Facebook doesn't always translate to performance on UAC, because we're fundamentally a very different channel mix, right? But it doesn't get around your question of, hey, I'd like to test with you, and maybe it's different on UAC, but I'm not sure how to do it. And that's an answer we should come back with a better answer for.
I'll send you an email.
Yeah, thank you.
And on that note,
Yeah.
oh, it looks like one more feature request coming through.
Yeah, question when launching a new app that does not necessarily have keywords associated to it. Like think about Uber, 5 years ago, people were not looking for ride sharing or Uber. I guess they didn't know what Uber was, right? And so how would you go about launching a new app that doesn't have any reference of mind in people's, keyword search through UAC?
I think that's a perfect use case for UAC, right? Because part of what we do is, the way our targeting works is that we look at just millions of different signals, a combination of what similar people on our network might like based on sort of the nature of your app, your goals, what you're trying to achieve. And so keywords aside, we auto-generate keywords on google.com that we think are highly relevant to the content of your app, which is cool. So you don't have to guess the keywords, we do it for you. But we also will spread that out across our million ad mod publishers, YouTube, et cetera. So I think it's a great way to cast the net and see, focus on your business outcomes and not worry about the keywords.
Awesome. So on that note, thank y'all so much for all of the wonderful feature requests that you now have.
No, it's good feedback.
And,
Thank you.
Yeah, and thanks for Lee Jones coming today.
Can I just say one more thing?
Oh yeah, go for it.
The one thing that is interesting about UAC is that I think you do get some results in our reporting, right? Good, better, and best. That's kind of vague, but we will be building out more insights there. One of the benefits, though, is that we almost automatically optimize and A/B test the assets that you input. But I think what you're saying is I have very specific ones that I just want to sort of pressure test because I have a design team and all of that. Okay. That makes sense, and that's something that is on the radar. Thank you, Katie.
All right, here we go.
Thank you all.